Hello there, my name is Jeff Johnson and I will serve as your professor for this course, Section 14, a fully online asynchronous class in the year 2023. I am the crusty dinosaur of the English department, and I've just got a few things I want to do with this very informal video to just introduce myself to you, introduce you to the course. And with online, it takes a while to get to know people, but at least you can start getting to know me and see what kind of man you're going to be dealing with. Before I do anything today, I want to explain my nose. I'll be explaining it all day tomorrow in my beloved dedicated classroom E339 live at the college. I don't want you or any of my students to think that I swapped out red wine for pure vodka. I'm actually going through a little bit of a 21-day chemo thing. One of my derm guy, one of the scientists that I've hired to keep me alive. I've seen, my face has seen a lot of weather, right? I've had every summer off since the middle of the 20th century, and every once in a while he has me do this chemo thing. It's just preventative, it's fine, but whoa, does it hurt. It takes 21 days, tomorrow's the last day, and so my nose is gonna look red for a while and unsightly. But I'm 63 and unsightly to begin with, so what's the difference? And as I'll tell all my students tomorrow after I make them go, ew, I'm going to tell you all that you got off easy. A year ago, I began my semester in January of 2022 by reading aloud and verbatim from my much delayed but super positive colonoscopy report. And let me start over. What I'd like to do today is begin with a poem. Every English class that I teach begins with just a little bit of poetry. If you hate poetry, welcome to hell. We'll give the poem just a little teeny bit of a setup. Then I want to do a second thing, tell you my entire life story in hopefully just a few minutes. And then I want to try to prepare you for what this class is going to be like. I'll get a video up today, I'll get another one up tomorrow, and I want to explain that today too, because if I think there's a couple seats open in other Comp 2 sections. I know mine are full. If you want to run, if you want to shop around, I can understand that too. So there's an origin story as to why I'm teaching this class, and it has to do with something sad. And I also better write this down so I don't forget. This class, for a particular reason, is going to have kind of a slow start, or to put it another way, you're going to have kind of an easy first week. And I'll explain that when I explain it, whenever I feel like it. So let's begin with a little bit of poetry today. It is my favorite poem from the pandemic. It's called What You Missed That Day You Were Absent from 4th Grade. I do all kinds of stuff at CLC. I wear a number of hats, as we say. And my favorite thing outside of teaching and serving students is directing a reading series called Verse Like Water, the visiting poet program of Central Lakes College. And you're going to hear plenty about that. And I have not hosted the man who wrote this poem, Brad Aaron Modlin, but I hosted Padraig Tuan Otuma, and he's a friend, and we're going to let him read it because he's got such a fantastic Irish accent. So let us begin.
What You Missed That Day You Were Absent from 4th Grade. Written by Brad Aaron Modlin and read by Padraig Otuma.
Mrs. Nelson explained how to stand still and listen to the wind, how to find meaning in pumping gas, how peeling potatoes can be a form of prayer. She took questions on how not to feel lost in the dark. After lunch, she distributed worksheets that covered ways to remember your grandfather's voice. Then the class discussed falling asleep without feeling you had forgotten to do something else, something important, and how to believe the house you wake in is your home. This prompted Mrs. Nelson to draw a chalkboard diagram detailing how to chant the Psalms during cigarette breaks, and how not to squirm for sound when your own thoughts are all you hear. Also, that you have enough. The English lesson was that I am is a complete sentence. And just before the afternoon bell, she made the math equation look easy, the one that proves that hundreds of questions and feeling cold and all those nights spent looking for whatever it was you lost and one person add up to something.
Anyway, a little bit of poetry. So, here's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Real fast, biography stuff, autobiography stuff. I grew up in the Anoka Champlin area, north of the cities. Born to a pretty middle-class home, went to Anoka Senior High School, landed at St. John's University, where I was a very mediocre student that somehow triple majored in English and history and in the humanities. 2.7 GPA because I spent more time with poetry and playing guitars, which is why I'm wearing hearing aids. And I absolutely loved St. John's so much that my early years after graduating was just a wheel-spinning exercise on how to get back there. In terms of personal stuff, I'm a dad. I'm married. I fell in love with my one of my best friends, girlfriends at university. Married her. Social scandal. I'm that guy. And I did get back to St. John's. I lived down here in Stearns County, actually, Collegeville. And we a couple boys. We had a couple little baby boys. They're grown now, 28 and 25. And just to do the career thing, I was going to spend my whole life teaching at St. John's Prep School with extra classes occasionally at St. John's and St. Ben's. And I ran into a little trouble after 19 years in the year 2009. I'll spare you most of the details, but I ran into a little bit of a personality conflict with a new principal that came along. And I was part of a revolution about the direction of the school, and I was insubordinate and crazy. And I got fired from a teaching job. And I wrecked a school, which, oops, I don't want to start that again, sorry. I wrecked a school. That's my street cred. And I was 49 years old, and I had to start over, completely over. And the problem was I had an unfinished master's degree from the 80s and a lapsed Minnesota teaching license, and professors who knew me well sat me down and said, look, you just wrecked a school, probably take a little sabbatical year, finally finish the MA, and keep moving, keep talking. And I did exactly what they told me to do. I spent 1 year as a graduate student hanging out with 20-somethings that were all tattooed and pierced. And I was like their troubled uncle, as I always say. They invited me to their parties. I never went. I always came home to my wife and the boys. And the next year, when I finished that degree, I was so scared I took 3 teaching jobs. I won't go into details. The main detail is that Central Lakes College took a hold of me. The dean and the provost contacted me. And even though I was living through a kind of a nightmare, I had no idea that I was being led to the greatest teaching job of my life. And I've been at CLC now for 13 years, and I love that place, and I enjoy teaching so much I skipped sabbatical. So I thought it was a story of condemnation, but it was actually a story of more or less English major salvation. So speed it up a little bit here and try to get to the gist of what we're up to here. At CLC, I'm in charge of a few things. I teach Comp 1, I teach Comp 2, I teach classical mythology, I teach Intro to the Humanities. Can't wait for that class to start up tomorrow. 24 of the 28 students are repeat Jeff Johnson fans, and it's an already built-in family. And I am on the honors faculty, but we're having trouble keeping face-to-face lit classes alive, and that class has been paused this year because all the honors students wanted it online. And I'm mainly a face-to-face teacher. So I got to give you an origin story so you understand me. I just burped, and I'll bet that was loud on my lavalier mic. When I came to CLC, when I was interviewed by Kelly McCullough and my dear friend Matthew Fort, I was asked point blank by Kelly McCullough, do you have any interest in online teaching? You don't want to lie during a job interview. And I didn't. I said, I don't think that would be my scene. And then he dangled kind of a hybrid class in front of me. He said, well, how about a hybrid? How about if you can teach classes with reduced seat time, mostly face-to-face, and then just give them some online gear to do. I said, if you train me to do that, that's fine. The following spring, Kelly McCullough came up to me, fall actually. He said, how many classes? I was nervous, right? I didn't know if I was catching on or not. Kelly came up to me one day and he said, how many classes do you want to teach in the spring? I said, I don't know. How many do you want me to teach, Kelly? He said, how about 10? Can you teach 10? I said, Kelly, how about 4? And that's when I knew I was going to be okay. Now that spring, I picked up a schedule in my mailbox that said online Comp 1 for the fall. And I went to Kelly's office and I said, what the hell is the matter with you? I told you in the interview, I don't want to teach online. He said, trust me, I'm bringing you in from the cold. We're going to make you a professor, and you want to know how to do it. You at least want some experience teaching online. He said, you never know. You might need to do it. You might have to do it someday. So I'm like, okay, Kelly. And I taught that class. And before it even started, near the end of the summer, there was a mix-up where I got in my shell for D2L, I got an entire online class that actually belonged to Leanne Flynn, who's a genius at teaching online, unlike me. So I texted her and I said, I just got your entire class. Can I look at it? Is it okay? She's like, absolutely. She is still a dear colleague of mine, still one of the best online teachers at the college. I looked at the class online week by week by week. I think it was a fall class, 14 weeks. I freaked. I was like, my God, the organization, the detail, the concrete sequentialness of it freaked me out. I'm like, I can't do this. So I went to what was then my 16-year-old son, Jeff, and I said, well, I can't do this. What do we do? He said, let's just make you a YouTube channel. You can put up lessons on YouTube. I'm like, okay. And we did. And they're kind of crappy, the first version of my channel. Thousands and thousands of views, though. It's crazy. I think 7,000 people have seen how to write a classification essay. My video on that. I don't even teach that essay anymore. But when that ended, I just thought, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm never teaching online again. And then along came the pandemic. And suddenly I was teaching with sheets behind me. When lockdown started in the spring of 2020, I was using my Mac here, the crap sensor, and I went fully on Zoom. I taught on Zoom for the rest of that year. My department was the first to bail for the following year. We're like, we're staying home. Pandemic was killing people left and right. And what's cool is that fall, I read an email in detail about CARES Act funding. And with CARES Act funds, I was helped not only from my own college, but from Riverland, who I was doing some extra work for. And I've got an unbelievable camera. This isn't the original one I got. I got this one with a grant. I've got a lavalier microphone. I've got gear. And rattling around in this house, I've pretty much figured out how to edit video on Final Cut Pro. And so that's that story. Now here's the thing. I'm 13 minutes in. I'm going to keep this under 20 minutes. You need to know this. I'm not an online teacher, per se. By definition, I am an evangelist for the classroom, for live teaching. I cannot wait to get back to my room tomorrow, to the 9 o'clock, to the 11 o'clock, to my humanites that come rolling in at 1. I can't wait to see those kids. But sometimes necessity dictates. I learned how to teach online more or less in the pandemic, but here's the thing. I can't type out a class. I need to make this as human as possible. And I also can't imagine teaching without my voice, without my gaze, even with my red nose. It's all I got. There's a silence to online learning and teaching. There is a solitude. And again, necessity dictates. I bet some of you have families or jobs that make it difficult to get to the college. Maybe that's why you're taking it. And I understand that. I'm going to repeat that idea. Sometimes necessity dictates. And that is exactly what's going on here. And it's because of some stuff that happened in my department. And I'll cut to that. And I'm determined to keep this under 20 minutes. If I stop saying that, maybe I can get there. This past fall, we had a teacher fall ill, an adjunct in the department. It's not a secret. Her name is Christine Stark. And exactly in the middle of the semester, she told the dean that she couldn't finish neither the semester nor the year. And the dean came to me and said, could you pick this up? And then it got a little weird. It was like, okay, do I finish her class or is this my class now? And HR got involved and they had to really think about it. And ultimately what was decided was whatever's going on with their grades, wherever they're at, this is your class from here on out. And I'm sure it was a real shock to those students, because suddenly, and the first video was called Suddenly Jeff Johnson. And we got through it, but I noticed one thing right away. I got a number of emails from, I love all students, whether they like me or not. I got a number of emails right away from students who were like, this is awesome, we've got a teacher now. Because up till then, Christine's great, but she was, doing the one post per week thing. And I got a very irritated video from an older student who said, okay, wait, I had this cream puff, easy A class going, and now you're here, and I got to watch 2-3 videos a week. The student was irritated. I get that, and I'll repeat the idea. I'm going to teach this class with video. You're going to see 2 to 3 videos per week. At least they'll be in 4K. At least they'll be decently edited. This one's kind of a roughly shot, slow start thing, but that's how I'm going to run the course. The course is going to depend heavily on about 40% of your grade on you keeping an academic journal. It's easy. I'll explain that probably with my next video. The first part, traditionally, of my Comp 1 classes are classes that I call you to think about yourselves as writers. But I'm a literature person, right? That's my thing. So what's going to happen in the middle of the semester, you're going to have a writing load at the beginning and a light reading load. But in the second half of the semester, your reading load is going to go through it's going to increase, because I want to get you thinking about yourselves as readers. Not just readers of texts, but readers of each other, readers of human gazes, readers of the sky, readers of the birds that are landing on my bird feeder out there. I'm going to take a shot at turning you into total readers. And I'm curious to see how you're going to feel about that, and how you're going to feel about the video thing. Most of my Comp 1s go pretty well, but they're face-to-face, aren't they? At least this, and this was a Christine Stark class. She's not able to make it back to the college, and not only did the dean ask me to do half of her class in the fall, she asked me to pick this one up for the spring, fully online. So, and actually there's other credits that I'm taking extra because of other disasters and experiments, but we don't need to go into that right now. 17 minutes. Here's probably the most important thing I'm going to tell you today. This first week is going to be on the light side. And I hope you cut me some slack and understand this. I don't want to make it easy on myself. Well, maybe I do want to make it easy on myself, but I got to tell you this. In addition to teaching 2 Comp 2s this semester and an Intro to the Humanities, I've taken on this extra class for my dean. I have taken on a class at Staples that I'm team teaching because of a suicide there of a dear friend of mine, and I don't even want to talk about that today. I don't even want to talk about that ever. And there's this class. And Staples. I also have a class at Staples, a Comp 1. But because high schools want things to be even, that Staples class is not going to begin till next week. I'm going to teach that 3 days a week. I'm going to drive up there from Stearns County. I'm a commuting teacher. I live on a beautiful farm down here. I think I should show it to you. And I'm going to teach that class live on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Wednesdays I'm going to teach it out of my cozy office in the library with my fancy camera. But here's the thing. I want to keep this Comp 1 in sync with that Comp 1. So their 3 lessons that they get will be lessons that get collapsed and condensed, hopefully for you, to the rate of 2 or 3 videos, and I'll try to keep them in the 20-25 minute range at the max. And if some of you are happy right now, well then you're happy. And if some of you are not happy right now, I'll end with this idea. I'm a religious person. My wife and I are Roman Catholics, and my wife is kind of inviting me to do something with her that 1 or 2 of you might know about. The entire catechism of the church in 1 year, made on videos by a Brainer boy named Father Michael Schmitz. I'm kind of into it right now, but when the video started, I'm like, oh, that one's 18 minutes long. It's every day, by the way. And we had one the other day that was like 41 minutes long. This is every day. It's a marriage thing. We are sticking together 36 years, and the story is still going. So I'm just saying this because I'm telling you, I mean, I know what it's like to be obligated to watch videos, but I don't need you every day. I don't need you to pay attention to me 365 days a year. 2 or 3 times a week for 16 weeks will be plenty good, and I'll be able to get the content to you, and I'll just make this as human as possible. And this is as far as I'm going to take this today. I'm at 20. I blew it, didn't I? I'm at 2029. Very nice to meet you. Very nice to see you or be seen by you. I'll pull this together. I know what I'm doing, even though I am old. Bless you.